So many fathers I meet live with regret. They're always telling me, I wish I would have, I could have, I should have. Any of these words, if you're using these words, they are extremely disempowering, as you know. And you're like, well, you know what? I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll get to it the next day. And the fact of the matter is, you won't, right? And you've probably been saying that for the last 5 years. And if you're like me, who has a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, I mean, that's 9 years, almost a decade has gone by. So if I keep saying things like, well, I'm going to get to it, or I wish I could have, or I'm going to, you're probably not. And that's almost a decade that is gone. On this very day, my dad is about to turn, almost 70 years old. And it just made me think about, wow, like, man, death is upon us, right? I mean, that's real. And like, I'm getting older, he's getting older. Like, wow, like it kind of hit me. Like, what will our legacy be as fathers? And I know so many fathers that are living with regret and living with lack. And I don't want that to be for you. So for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to go over 3 tactics or 3 strategies that you can use and you can start implementing right now that is going to change that trajectory. Because I think all of us want to build strong families, strong relationships with our kids and our wives. And we want to build a legacy, because if we build a strong foundation and a strong legacy, that's going to continue on and on and on for the next generation, the next generation, because your kids are going to learn how to be an amazing dad. And your kids are going to learn how to treat their wives based on the way you treated yours, right? And it's all about these relationships. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Joel Evan. I'm a best-selling author of the book Ignite. This was a book that I wrote for really mind, body, soul. So if you're looking to ignite your life in any way in terms of health, mindset, detox, exercise, everything, it's all in here. So go check that out. I'm also the founder of First Responder Fathers, where I help first responder men, having been a first responder myself for almost 15 years as a police officer. I help first responder men build elite families and become elite husbands, so that, again, they can start living the highest version of themselves and their family benefits and the next generation and the next generation. So over the next 5 minutes, again, I'm going to share with you some tactics you can use to help build that legacy and not live with regret. Now, believe it or not, we are living in a comfort crisis. Okay. There's actually a book called The Comfort Crisis. You should definitely go read it. It talks about death. And I think in America, anyways, we don't really focus on death at all. And we're not present with it. And so it's one of those things we actually try to block out and not think about. But here's the crazy thing. There was a study done out of Cornell that said 76% of people actually regret the things they haven't done far more than the ones they have. So on their deathbed, I think we all know, it's like, man, I wish I could have. The goals they had never achieved or even tried to achieve. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine going through your entire life? And next thing you know, you're 70. Like I just said, my dad, he's about to turn 70. It's like, bam. And, you realize, man, I didn't live up to my potential. I didn't do everything I said I was going to do. And you think death is so far away that you're not even present with it. You're not cognizant of it. So, take a minute and just remember, we've got to let go. Right now, there's a war going on, right, in the Middle East. We've got to let go of all these petty grudges. You got to get off your butt. You got to get into action. Focus on people that truly, truly matter, right? Think about all the things that you'd like to accomplish before you leave this realm, right? And think about, ask yourself, what needs to happen so that you can die completely and at peace? Think about, what is it going to take to ensure that you won't be one of those people I just mentioned. You won't be one of the 76% of people that is on their deathbed with regrets. And so you need to get clear on whatever it is and let that dictate the rest of your life. If right now, if one of your kids was sick or had a pending illness, I bet you would live all out like it was your last day to live, because you just don't know. Why don't we do that regularly? Why don't we have that urgency, right? So I'm going to talk to you about 3 tactics, 3 strategies you can use. And I think the last one's going to really hit home. So stay tuned for that one. I'm actually going to give you a little cheat sheet. So if you want it, I can send it to you. Just let me know. Just comment, leave a comment. Let me know you want it. Just say, Joel, I'd love that. I'll send it to you. No questions asked, or just simply send me a DM. So number 1, write your eulogy. Now, I'm sure you heard other personal development or people talk about this idea, and I've heard about it before, and I never really considered, but maybe it's just as I've gotten older, I've kind of realized the importance of this. And, I think all of us, we think about the day, if someone was reading our eulogy, and I think about my sons reading it, what would they be saying about me? And there's a lot of cognitive dissonance. There's a lot of things that they would say positive, but the last time I did this exercise, there was also a lot of negatives that I had for myself that I wasn't doing. And that hurt me. That hurt me knowing that, man, I'm really, even though I'm saying I'm doing all these things and I'm living the highest version of myself, I'm not serving them to the best of their ability. And that makes me sad. And when you start to think about that, not only what are the high points, but what are the regrets? What are you leaving on the table? And if you start to have a consciousness of your death and what it's going to look like, and people reading, imagine your sons, your daughters, or somebody reading your eulogy, your wife, and them not saying the most positive things about you because of how you're currently living, you better start changing. You better do something about it, right? So that's number one. Write your eulogy in detail. The second one is we're just reflecting on death daily. Sounds kind of morbid, but again, in other cultures, death is not seen as such a bad thing. You look at places like Bhutan, or even, I'm thinking of celebrations like in Mexico, right, where they have Day of the Dead. I mean, it seems like it's a very big celebration, and people, there's this ancient tradition and wisdom that comes with death. And so ask yourself some of these questions. Again, number one, did you leave some important project unfinished? If you're thinking about your death daily and you're wondering, man, as before I go to bed, did I leave some important project unfinished? Number two, did you take the time to engage in nourishing activities for yourself and others? Right? Did you do something to stimulate and help your kids and progress them forward? Did you nourish them? What about your wife? Did you do the same? Number three, did you tell your kids that you love them? That's such an easy one. And it can, we can be bitter and mean at the end of the day and have problems and strife that happens with our kids. And so that can be tough. But did you do that? Because what if you woke up the next day and you didn't wake up, right? And then the last thing is, what are you most proud of? What are you most proud of that you did that day, right? These are all good questions you can start asking yourself and have that kind of reflection daily before you go to bed about death. And then the last one that I want to share with you is, this is a common Stoic phrase and philosophy, and it's called memento mori, and it's a Latin phrase that translates, remember, you must die. And it just reflects, again, like you're going to die. And so, believe it or not, this I got from the book Experiential Billionaire. I had them on my podcast, The Joel Evans Show. Go ahead and check that out. You can see the whole episode. But we talk about this idea of memento mori. And believe it or not, guys, this is it. You can see I threw up a little chart here. I'm going to put it out the big screen. But you actually live on average right now. The current life expectancy for someone in the United States is about 76 years on average. So imagine if you created a little block here or a little chart, and each year, I'm 41 right now, you mark down all the years that you've been alive, and it kind of gives you a good snapshot of what's left, right? It gives you a good snapshot of how much more time you have. And so again, at the bottom, build a life rich in experiences and die with no regrets. And this is a good time. It's, again, bringing death to the forefront so that we start living the highest version of ourselves in the present. That's the key. That is the key right there. So you can create your own. I can send this to you if you want a copy like this, completely free. And you can just pin it. You can make a whiteboard. You can pin it. And so it's something that you see daily, and it reminds you that you need to get into action and you need to start moving, because action is the antidote, and people are depending on you. Your family deserves better. You deserve better, and you're worth it, right? That was something I talked with a client recently. He said, I was worth it. That's why I signed up with you for coaching, because I knew I was worth it and I wanted to change. And so many of us don't think we're worth it. So we don't invest in ourselves, right? And then who pays the price? Our family, our loved ones, our wives, our kids, right? I hope this was helpful for you. So again, the three things, just to kind of recap and summarize, it's write your own eulogy. What are the high points? What are the regrets? Number two, reflect on your death daily. Ask yourself those questions. Did I love? Did I live? Did I matter? And the last one, memento mori. The average person only lives 76 years in America. And that's not to say that you won't, but it gives you some time frame of like, hey, let's start taking action. Let's start doing the most with our life and live with no regrets. I'm out. Have an amazing rest of your week, guys. I hope this was powerful, and I hope it's going to transform your legacy and your family life. Also, I forgot to mention, last but not least, if you're not in my free first responders group, I should have mentioned at the beginning, hop in. It's a free Facebook group for men that want to level up, build habits to become elite dads and husbands. Check that out. It's a free Facebook group, and I'm happy to add you. Just send the request to join, and I'll get you in. Thanks, guys. Bye.